Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that might hurt a little. Right now, someone younger than you is making $10,000 a month, while millions of smart, hard-working people are struggling to reach $1,000. Not because they're geniuses, not because they got lucky, not because they work harder than you. Take Ben Francis, the founder of Gymshark. He started a small clothing brand in his bedroom while still in college. Now that company earns millions every month. Meanwhile, most of us are grinding 9-to-5s and wondering why we can't save even $500 a month. And here's the scary part. Most people wake up early, commute, work 8 to 10 hours, come home tired, and at the end of the year, their total income still struggles to cross $10,000 or $15,000. Meanwhile, someone else starts a YouTube channel, builds a personal brand, or creates an online course, and that single effort makes more in a month than a traditional job makes in a year. Both are tired, both are busy, both complain about life. But one is paid for time, and the other is paid for value. Prices are rising, rent is rising, food is rising, but your income, it's moving like it's stuck in traffic. And if you think this is just about money, it's not. Money is just the scoreboard. What's really changing is the world underneath it. Because the modern world doesn't announce change. It doesn't send a warning. It just updates. One day, a skill that fed a family for 20 years becomes optional. Not useless, just replaceable. One day, a job title that sounded impressive suddenly means nothing online. One day, a process that once took months can be done in days if you know the right approach. You scroll your phone for a few minutes and see people younger than you launching businesses, writing books, streaming courses, building audiences. Take Emma Chamberlain, who turned vlogging into a brand and now has millions of followers and multiple business deals. She's younger than most viewers, yet already creating wealth, while many adults are still planning a side hustle. You watch videos about success, you save posts about discipline, you plan big changes at night. Meanwhile, someone is learning a skill, building a business, or selling products, turning effort into cash in the bank while you're still planning. You don't feel lazy. You feel exhausted because your brain has been active all day, just not on your future. You answer messages, you attend meetings, you react to notifications. At the end of the day, you say, I deserve rest. And you do. But rest without progress slowly becomes regret. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. The world no longer pays you for how long you work. It pays you for how useful you are and how fast you adapt. Experience used to be protection. Today, it can be a trap. I know Alexandra Wang, the founder of Scale AI, who dropped out of school but built a company that solves billion-dollar problems while many graduates are still waiting for entry-level jobs. That's the power of speed over credentials. That's how the modern world replaces people. Quietly, people don't fall behind today because they're stupid. They fall behind because they pause in a world that rewards motion. You think working harder will fix this, right? You wake up early. You grind all day. You check off tasks like a robot. You tell yourself, I'm doing everything right. But here's the problem. Working hard isn't enough anymore. Let me give you some examples. Take Whitney Wolfe Herd, the founder of Bumble. She didn't just work hard in a normal job. She built a dating app that millions use, and it became a billion-dollar company. Meanwhile, countless people stay busy in jobs that barely pay the bills, thinking hours alone equal progress. Or Simone Biles, the gymnast. She trains smart, focuses on high-value skills, and pushes boundaries, not just putting in hours. Meanwhile, many athletes practice endlessly without strategy or innovation, and their results plateau. Even small-scale examples are clear. I know people flipping small online stores or selling handmade products locally. One spends 8 hours a day working, but just fulfills orders. Another spends 2 hours improving their marketing or finding a new customer channel. And suddenly, sales explode. The world now rewards systems, strategy, visibility, and leverage, not just effort. Think about it like this. If you spend 8 hours doing repetitive work with no growth, that's linear. If someone spends 2 hours finding a way to multiply results, that's exponential. And most people, they never look for the system. They just grind, hoping results will come. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You can be busy, tired, and hardworking, and still fall behind. And the world doesn't care how many hours you logged. It cares about what you create. It cares about results, not effort. Take Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She started with $5,000 and an idea, working smart, testing products, selling strategically, now a billion-dollar brand. Meanwhile, many people work tirelessly in offices or retail jobs, thinking effort alone will make them successful. The funny part, we glorify busy. We envy hard workers. We even call them disciplined. But discipline without direction is just exhaustion dressed up. That's why so many people are falling behind. It's not laziness, it's misplaced effort. So, what's the takeaway? Stop confusing activity with progress. Stop measuring effort by hours. Start measuring by results and leverage. Once you understand this, you'll notice something interesting. People working fewer hours but smartly are achieving 10 times more than the busiest person you know. It's not magic, it's strategy. The question is, are you willing to look for the strategy, or will you just grind and hope? Here's something most people don't realize. You can study for years, get degrees, certifications, even honors, and still fall behind. Why? Because the world no longer rewards credentials. It rewards skills that solve real problems. Take Damon John. He didn't finish college. He started sewing hats in his mother's house, sold them on the street, figured out branding and marketing. Now Phobio is a global brand. Meanwhile, countless college graduates struggle to find jobs in their field. They have knowledge, but not relevant, applied skills. Or look at Greta Thunberg. She's still a teenager, but she learned how to communicate, organize, and mobilize millions for climate change. Her skill? Influence. Action. Results, not a degree. Even smaller scale examples hit home. I know people who took weekend courses in coding, marketing, or design, applied what they learned, and now they earn more than friends with multiple degrees who are stuck in 9-to-5 jobs. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Speed of learning matters more than the amount learned. You can spend a lifetime learning one thing perfectly, or you can spend a few months learning the right thing at the right time and leap ahead. Most people are doing the first, and that's why they're behind. It's not laziness, it's wrong focus. Think about it. The world is changing fast. Jobs vanish, industries shift, new opportunities appear almost overnight. If your skills take years to catch up, you're already behind the curve before you even start. Take Jessica Alba. She started The Honest Company while still acting. She didn't wait to become an expert in business. She learned fast, adapted, applied, and created something people valued. Meanwhile, many people spend decades preparing for the perfect job, and by the time they're ready, the world has moved on. The funny part? Most people think learning slowly is safe. They say, I'll study until I'm ready. But here's the truth. In a moving world, waiting to be ready is the fastest way to fall behind. The solution isn't studying more, it's learning the right thing, fast, and applying it. And here's the kicker. People who do this aren't always smarter. They're just adaptive. You see someone younger than you making more money, building a business, or launching a product. It's not luck. It's fast learning plus action. That's why skill gaps are deadly today. Not knowing the right skill at the right time costs opportunities, and sometimes years of life. So what's the takeaway? Stop thinking long-term in a slow-moving world. Stop learning things that don't matter. Focus on relevant skills, learn fast, and apply immediately. Because the world isn't waiting for your degree, your perfect plan, or your I'll start Monday. It's moving, and it rewards the fast learner, the adapter, the doer. Here's a harsh truth most people don't like to hear. The world doesn't just move fast because of opportunity. It moves fast because of people who take responsibility for their own lives. And the people who fall behind, they blame everything else. The economy, their boss, their family, even the weather. Take Kevin Hart. Early in his career, he bombed on stage, got rejected, even told to quit. Did he blame the audience? No. He adjusted, learned from it, took full responsibility for his growth. Now he's a global star. Or think about Reed Hastings, co-founder of Netflix. He didn't wait for perfect timing or perfect conditions. He took responsibility for building a better way to deliver entertainment, even when people laughed at him. Meanwhile, many people are busy being busy, complaining, scrolling, planning, and doing nothing meaningful. Here's a small-scale truth most people ignore. I know people who spend hours complaining about their job instead of learning one skill or finding one side hustle. They say, I can't do it because, meanwhile, Someone else in the same situation figures out a way to make $500 extra a month, then $5,000, then $50,000. Responsibility is simple. Stop blaming the world, start acting in it. And mindset, that's even bigger. Do you see challenges as obstacles or opportunities? Do you focus on what you can control or obsess over what you can't? Look at Simone Biles again. Injuries, public pressure, mental health, huge challenges. She didn't blame others. She adjusted, focused on what she could control, and became one of the greatest athletes ever. Most people don't fall behind because they can't. They fall behind because they refuse to own their results, and their mindset keeps them small. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Success doesn't care about excuses. It doesn't care about effort without ownership. It only rewards those who think, plan, and act responsibly. And it's funny how people envy the successful, thinking they're lucky. Luck is just the world rewarding people who own their lives, adapt, and act faster. So the takeaway here is simple. Stop blaming. Own your choices, focus on mindset and responsibility. Because the gap between you and the people moving forward isn't always skill, effort, or opportunity. It's thinking plus accountability plus action. Let's be honest. At the end of the day, the world rewards value, not effort. You can work 12 hours a day, grind endlessly, stress yourself out, and still earn less than someone who works a few hours with leverage. Take Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield, founders of Ben & Jerry's. They didn't just work hard, they created a product people loved, marketed it cleverly, and now it's a global brand. Or Malala Yousafzai. She didn't just study hard, she used her voice and actions to create massive impact, influence millions, and now works on projects worth hundreds of millions in value worldwide. Even smaller scale examples hit home. I know someone selling custom sneakers online. One person spends 10 hours customizing shoes for $50 profit. Another spends 3 hours finding trending designs, marketing them on Instagram, and sells the same shoes for $300. The difference? Leverage and value. Here's the harsh truth. Working more hours doesn't make you richer. Creating value and scaling it does. Think about it like this. You're trading time for money if you work only hours. Someone else trades value for money, uses creativity, marketing, or networks, and suddenly, a month of their work equals a year of yours. It's not luck, it's awareness. It's seeing opportunities. It's knowing how to create value people can't ignore. Take Whitney Wolf Heard's peers in business, for instance. Small food or fashion startups that exploded because they spotted trends early, applied effort strategically, and leveraged social proof. Or think about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, not just an actor, but a brand. He invests in products, launches companies, and monetizes his influence, creating wealth far beyond any single movie paycheck. Even regular people can apply this. Someone teaches a high-demand skill locally or online, reaches a few hundred students, and suddenly earns in months what takes others years in a traditional job. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are still stuck trading hours for money, thinking effort alone is enough. Meanwhile, the world rewards people who create systems, sell value, and scale impact. The takeaway? Stop thinking like a worker. Start thinking like a value creator. Focus on what the world needs. Build something that can multiply beyond your own time. Because the moment you understand this, you stop being busy. You stop being tired. You stop spinning your wheels. And suddenly the world starts paying you for value, not effort. So ask yourself, am I trading hours for money? Or am I creating value that others will pay for? The answer will determine whether you're falling behind or moving ahead. Remember, the world isn't waiting. Opportunities are fleeting. Value multiplies fast. If you take nothing else from this speech, take this. Don't just work hard, work smart. Create value, leverage your skills, and let the world pay you what you're worth. Because the world is moving and it doesn't wait for anyone. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe, my friends. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever worked so hard on something and nobody cared? You sent the link to your friends, no one replied. You started a business, no one supported it. You asked for help and all you got was silence.
Let me tell you the truth I learned the hard way. No one is your friend when you are building. When you're weak, when you're broke, when you're confused, you're alone. And it's not personal. It's just how the world works. So don't cry. Learn. People don't believe you because they only understand two languages: results and value. When I told people in 1999 that I was going to build the biggest internet company in China, they laughed. I couldn't code. I wasn't rich. I had no investors. They didn't believe me. Not because they hated me, but because I didn't prove anything yet. The world doesn't owe you belief. You have to earn it. Being alone is not a punishment. It is a gift. Silence is where you become dangerous. Solitude is where your ideas grow. Isolation is where you build your edge. Everyone wants a crowd, a circle, a community. But you need something more powerful: conviction. You must walk alone before anyone follows you. Let me tell you about my rejections. KFC came to Hangzhou. 24 people applied, 23 got accepted. I was the only one rejected. I failed university entrance exams twice. I applied to Harvard 10 times, rejected every time. Nobody was clapping for me. Nobody said, "Jack, we believe in you." Even my family told me, "Just find a normal job. Stop dreaming." But I didn't listen to them because I had one thing left: belief in myself. When no one chooses you, choose yourself. We live in a world that celebrates outcomes, not effort. You work 18 hours a day, nobody cares. You fail 20 times, but keep trying, still nothing. But the moment you succeed, the moment your company goes public, everyone claps. That's why I tell young people, don't expect applause. Expect resistance. Because applause is not for the ones who start, it's for the ones who survive. In silence, you must build your vision, self-discipline, patience, mental toughness, daily habits. This is where the real work happens. No one's watching. No one's cheering. No one's liking your post. And that's exactly when you must not stop, because the work you do in silence will echo for the rest of your life. Let's talk about support. You expect your friends to understand your grind, your family to share your vision. That's a mistake. Their job is not to dream your dream. That's your job. Most people love you, but only within the limits of their own mindset. So don't get angry when your family tells you to settle. Don't get frustrated when your friends don't show up. Use it. Fuel it. Build anyway. You don't need motivation. You need a system. Train like this. Wake up early. No one claps. Study while others party. No one notices. Sacrifice comfort. No one thanks you. But when the results come, they will all ask, "How did you do it?" And your answer should be, "I did it alone." When no one believed in me, this world is full of contradictions. When you fail, they laugh. When you win, they act like they knew it all along. You must not get bitter. You must get better. Don't argue. Don't explain. Don't try to prove. Win quietly. Let your results speak. Because when you win, you don't just get attention. You get power. Pain is your coach. Loneliness is your gym. Rejection is your teacher. Every time someone says no, say thank you and keep moving. You want to be strong, then stop waiting for the world to understand your pain. Use it. Make your pain your practice. Make your scars your strategy. You'll win, but the road is long, and when you finally win, when you finally succeed, don't forget the early days. Don't forget the empty room. The long nights, the doubt, the silence, carry it with you because it keeps you grounded. It keeps you real. When you win, people will want your secret. They will say, "How did you do it so fast?" But you'll remember, it wasn't fast. It was years of pain, thousands of failures, countless lonely mornings. You earned it, not because the world believed in you, but because you believed in yourself long enough for the world to notice. So I'll leave you with this. If you're building alone right now, keep going. If you're walking alone, good. That means you're in control. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are just early. Walk alone, build alone, win alone. And one day, they'll all say, "I always believed in you." Just smile and keep walking. Thank you.
You ever notice how people love to announce everything they do? I'm starting a business. I'm learning guitar. I'm going to write a book. And then 2 weeks later, their business is selling lemonade in the backyard. The guitar is collecting dust. And the book, well, it's still in a Google Doc somewhere, crying silently. It's like seeing someone post, "I'm on a diet," while holding a slice of cake in the other hand. Classic human behavior. We love attention more than results. Here's the thing. Talking about your goals gives you the fake feeling of achievement. Your brain goes, "Cool, I told 20 people about my new project. Mission accomplished." Meanwhile, your project, still on your couch, unstarted, probably napping. Let's look at some examples. Take Mark Zuckerberg. Do you think he was tweeting every time he added a line of code to Facebook? Nope. He built quietly day after day, eating maybe too much pizza, ignoring people's opinions, and then suddenly, boom, everyone's on Facebook. No announcement, no hype, just results. Or Elon Musk. Imagine him live streaming every failed rocket launch. "Hey guys, this rocket might explode. Wish me luck." People would unsubscribe out of fear. Instead, he works, tests, fails quietly, then shocks the world. That's the power of silence. Even in daily life, it's true. Think about your friend who's always bragging about hitting the gym. Meanwhile, the quiet friend who never talks about it suddenly rocks up one day, shredded, with everyone asking, "When did this happen?" That's silence at work. Results speak louder than words. And let's be real, silence is funny sometimes too. You know the type. They're constantly telling you about their amazing plans, then ghost when things get hard. Meanwhile, the quiet person, the one who never brags, is secretly crushing it behind the scenes. It's like watching someone loudly announce they can juggle, and then dropping all the balls in front of you. Comedy gold. Here's the key takeaway. Don't announce your goals. Don't seek validation. Don't show off your work in progress. Work in silence. Fail in silence. Learn in silence. And when you finally succeed, the world won't see it coming. That's when the real fun begins. Because let's be honest, seeing someone shocked by your success is way more satisfying than seeing them nod politely while you explain your plans. Have you ever noticed how people sometimes get tired just by talking about their plans? You meet someone who says, "This year, I will start a business, learn Spanish, run a marathon, and maybe write a book." They sound ambitious, but 2 months later, nothing has started. Why? Because talking too much steals your energy. When you share your goals with everyone, you also invite everyone's opinions. One person says, "That's too risky." Another says, "Someone already tried that." Another asks, "Are you sure you can do it?" Suddenly you're not working on your dream. You're busy explaining, defending, justifying. And the more you explain, the less focus you have left to actually do it. Think about Jeff Bezos. In the early days, when Amazon was just a small online bookstore in his garage, he didn't run around telling the whole world, "I will build a company bigger than Walmart." He simply worked, quietly, consistently. And slowly, it grew. The energy was invested in building, not in endless discussions. And here's the tricky part. When you talk too much, your brain feels rewarded. You get the same small satisfaction as if you already achieved something. It's like posting a picture of your business card with CEO printed on it before you even have an office or a team. You enjoy the applause before doing the work. The truth is, silence keeps your energy where it belongs. When you don't announce every idea, you save yourself from unnecessary doubt, unnecessary distraction, and unnecessary pressure. You keep your fire inside instead of letting it burn out too early. Steve Jobs understood this well. When Apple was working on the first iPhone, nobody knew the details. No announcements, no leaks, no big talk. And then suddenly it appeared. One product, one moment, and the world changed. Imagine if he had been posting every step of development online. By the time the iPhone launched, the magic would have been gone. That's the beauty of silence. It protects your energy. It protects your focus. And when the right time comes, it multiplies the impact of your success. Sometimes, the worst thing you can do for your dream is to announce it too early. Why? Because once people know, they start asking questions. They start giving opinions. And suddenly, you're no longer building your dream, you're managing their expectations. I remember one young entrepreneur who proudly told everyone, "I'm going to open 10 restaurants in 2 years." His friends clapped, his relatives praised him. But 1 year later, he had not opened even one. Why? Because every time he met someone, the first question was, "So, how many restaurants now?" The pressure became heavier than the work itself. He had created an audience before creating results. This is why many successful people stay quiet in the beginning. Elon Musk didn't announce Tesla to his neighbors when it was just an idea in his head. He worked first. By the time the world heard about it, the cars were already rolling on the roads. It happens in normal life too. Think of students preparing for exams. The one who goes around telling everyone, "I will get top position this year," ends up under so much pressure that they can't even sleep. The quiet student who says nothing just studies. And when the results come, everyone is shocked. Silence protected their plan. And sometimes, silence even protects you from embarrassment. How many times have we seen someone post on social media, "Big project coming soon, life-changing announcement next week," and then nothing happens? People remember, people laugh. This is the cost of talking too soon. The truth is, when you talk too much, your dream becomes a public performance instead of a private mission. You lose freedom, because now you're acting for the crowd instead of building for yourself. Silence gives you that freedom. Nobody is watching. Nobody is counting. Nobody is reminding you of what you promised. You can experiment. You can fail quietly. You can learn quietly. And by the time you succeed, people only see the final version, not the messy middle. So remember, if you want your plan to survive, don't feed it to the noise of the world too early. Keep it safe. Keep it private. Work in silence and let your results do the talking. People love surprises. That's why birthdays are exciting. That's why movie plot twists make us clap. And that's why silent success shakes the world louder than 1,000 speeches. Think about it. When someone talks for years about how they will succeed, people get bored. But when someone works quietly and suddenly appears successful, everyone pays attention. Success without warning has the strongest impact. Take J.K. Rowling, for example. Nobody knew she was secretly writing Harry Potter in cafes while struggling to pay rent. She didn't go around saying, "I'm writing the world's next bestseller." She worked silently, patiently. And one day, boom, the book arrived. The whole world was shocked. The surprise made the impact even bigger. Or look at Messi. He is not the loudest player. He doesn't make big speeches. He doesn't post every training session on social media. He works quietly. And then, during a match, he produces magic that leaves the stadium in silence before erupting in applause. His silence off the field makes his actions on the field 10 times louder. Even in business, this is true. Apple is famous for secrecy. They don't announce products years in advance. They let rumors fly. They stay silent, and then suddenly, they reveal something that changes the industry. That surprise creates not just customers, but fans. And it's not only famous people. It happens in daily life too. Imagine two classmates. One keeps bragging all year, "I will crush this exam, just wait." The other stays quiet. When the results come, the loud one is average, and the quiet one tops the class. Who surprises everyone? Who leaves the strongest memory? Always the one who stayed silent. Surprise multiplies success. It turns small achievements into big stories, because people didn't see it coming. It's like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. If you explain the trick before, nobody is impressed. But if you keep it secret until the right moment, everyone is amazed. That's why silence is not just about protection, it's also about impact. The less you talk, the more powerful your results look when they finally arrive. We live in a world that rewards noise. Social media says, post every update. News channels say, shout louder than the other person. Even in daily life, people measure success by how much attention you can grab. But here is the truth. Noise is cheap, silence is expensive. Why do people love noise? Because it's easy. Making noise takes 1 second. Doing the real work takes years. It's easier to post, "I'm starting a startup," than to actually build a company. It's easier to tweet about going to the gym than to go every morning for a year. That's why most people choose noise. But noise has a cost. It distracts you. When you spend your time shouting, explaining, defending, updating, you stop focusing. And the world is full of distractions waiting to eat your time. Look at Thomas Edison. If he had spent his days telling every neighbor, "I'm working on this invention and that invention," he would never have created the light bulb. He was not busy talking. He was busy testing 1,000 times until it worked. The world didn't see the noise, only the light. In sports too. Look at Muhammad Ali. Yes, he was famous for talking big, but here's the part people forget. He worked even bigger. Behind the flashy words, he trained harder than anyone. His noise would have meant nothing without the silence of his training. Noise makes you feel famous for a moment. Silence makes you powerful forever. That's why the world is full of people you've heard about, but very few people whose results you still respect years later. Even in your own life, you can see it. Maybe you know someone who's always posting about grinding or hustling. They look busy, but 2 years later, they're still in the same place. Then you meet someone else who stayed quiet, didn't show off, and suddenly they bought a house, started a company, or changed their life. Silence won. The world loves noise because it entertains. But real success is not entertainment. Real success is built in silence, distraction-free, step by step. When you understand this difference, you stop competing with noise and you start building something lasting. So, should we stay silent forever? No. Silence is for the journey, not the destination. When you finally succeed, that's the time to speak, but not with words, with results. When Alibaba went public, I didn't need to explain to every critic why I worked late nights, why I made mistakes, why I failed many times. The results spoke louder than any defense I could have given. One number, one success, explained 10 years of silence. That's the beauty of letting your work talk for you. Think about Michael Jordan. He didn't stand in front of the media every day saying, "I will be the greatest." He trained in silence. But when the game started, when the ball was in his hands, his results spoke for him. That's when the world listened. Or think of a farmer. He doesn't stand in the field shouting, "Look at my seeds." He just plants them quietly. Water, sunlight, patience. And when the harvest comes, everyone sees the field full of crops. That's the right moment to show, because the proof is undeniable. This is the secret. You don't fight doubters with arguments. You fight them with results. You don't prove people wrong by shouting. You prove them wrong by winning. And here is the final thought. Silence is not emptiness. It is strategy. It is the shield for your dreams. It gives you space to fail, to learn, to grow, without the noise of the world. And when the time comes, you don't even need to say, "Look at me." People will already be looking. So work in silence. Protect your dream. Protect your focus. And when you succeed, let the world discover it like a beautiful surprise. Because sometimes the loudest voice is silence. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe, my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a question that might shake you a little. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, if only I had done what I promised myself last year, my life would look completely different today? Be honest. How many promises have you broken to yourself? You told yourself you'd start working out, but your treadmill has become a towel rack. You said you'd wake up early, but now your alarm clock fears you, because every morning it gets slapped like it owes you money. You said you'd save money, but somehow one little sale becomes a full shopping cart. That's not bad luck. That's you versus you. And trust me, it's the toughest match in the world, because your opponent, you, knows all your weaknesses, all your excuses, all your shortcuts. See, everyone says, "I want to be successful," but very few are ready to defeat the version of themselves that's lazy, scared, and addicted to comfort. Let's talk real. When you open your phone to work and suddenly find yourself watching 20 reels of cats dancing, that's not distraction. That's you avoiding you. When you say, I'll start tomorrow, it's not procrastination. It's fear disguised as a plan. Look at successful people. They don't fight others, they fight themselves. Elon Musk isn't competing with Jeff Bezos. He's competing with yesterday's Elon, trying to outwork him. Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't train because Messi exists. He trains because he refuses to be weaker than yesterday's Ronaldo. Taylor Swift isn't trying to be better than other singers. She's trying to write songs that outshine her last album. But you don't need to be famous to live this way. Let's talk about the people around us. That student who wakes up at 6 a.m. to study while everyone else sleeps. That's not because she wants to beat her classmates. She just wants to beat the version of herself who used to waste time. That shopkeeper who learns how to use TikTok to sell his products. He's not competing with brands. He's competing with the version of himself who didn't believe he could adapt. That mother who works all day, takes care of her family, and still studies online at night. That's you versus you in its purest form. Now, let's be real for a moment. How many times have you said, I don't have time, but somehow you've watched every episode of a 10-season series, plus the bloopers, plus the behind-the-scenes interviews? You don't lack time, you lack control over you. You versus you means catching yourself when your brain says, just 10 more minutes. Because that 10 more minutes has killed more dreams than failure ever did. And I'll tell you something funny. People think they lose because others are luckier or richer. No. Most people lose because they keep restarting the race every Monday. They start a diet on Monday, quit on Thursday, feel guilty on Friday, restart fresh next Monday. Meanwhile, the other version of them, the disciplined one, is waiting inside screaming, just stay consistent. You versus you is the only game where you can't cheat. You can lie to the world, but you can't lie to the mirror. You just need to win against the version of yourself that keeps holding you back. Because at the end of the day, it's not the world watching you, it's your future self whispering, please don't disappoint me again. You know what's funny, ladies and gentlemen? Most people lose the you versus you battle before their day even starts. Not because life is unfair, but because they start their morning scrolling through other people's lives. You wake up, pick up your phone, and before you even say good morning to yourself, you've already said good morning to 100 strangers on Instagram. And suddenly your brain says, oh look, she's traveling again. He bought a new car. I'm still in bed. That's how the day starts. Not with gratitude, but comparison. But here's the truth. It's not them you're fighting, it's you. You versus the version of you who keeps comparing instead of creating. Let me give you an example. There was this guy I knew, always talking about how he wanted to start a YouTube channel. He had great ideas, funny personality, everything. But every week he'd say, I'll start when I get the perfect camera. 3 years later, the camera is still in his shopping cart, and someone else is making millions using just their phone. You see the difference? One version of him waited, the other version acted. Guess which one won? You versus you means realizing that waiting for perfect is just fear wearing a nice outfit. People think fear shows up as panic or anxiety. No, it shows up as perfectionism. Even big names deal with this. When Steve Jobs was building Apple, he didn't wait for perfection. He launched, learned, and improved. When Serena Williams trained, she wasn't trying to win every single shot. She was trying to win the next one. When Mr. Beast started YouTube, his first videos were filmed on an old webcam, terrible lighting, bad audio, but he kept going. Now, he's the most watched creator in the world because he chose to fight his own excuses. Let me give you something relatable. You versus you happens every time you say, I'll start working after this one last episode, or I'll study after I'm in the mood, or my favorite one, I'll fix my life after this weekend. Guess what? The weekend comes. You rest, but somehow your problems rest with you. We keep thinking we're fighting time, but time is not your enemy. Your habits are, and habits don't change until you do. You versus you means realizing that success isn't about being fast, it's about being consistent. It's about choosing discipline when nobody's watching. It's about saying, I'll do it now when your brain screams, let's do it later. And if you ever doubt yourself, remember this. The people who are ahead of you aren't smarter. They just stopped arguing with themselves. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself one question. Did I win against me today? Not against others, not against the world, just me. Because when you start winning those small private battles, your public victories become unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about that little voice in your head. You know, the one that sounds like your personal lawyer whenever you're about to do something productive. You say, let's go for a walk. Your brain says, wait, it's too hot. You say, let's start studying. Your brain says, wait, the room's too noisy. You say, let's work on that idea. Your brain says, you're not ready yet. And the funny thing is, your brain always sounds so reasonable, right? Like it's trying to protect you. But deep down, it's just protecting your comfort zone. You versus you is not a physical fight. It's a mental negotiation. Every day, your mind gives you two choices. Stay the same or become better. And most people, sadly, choose comfort and then complain that life never changes. Let me give you an example. There's a guy named David. He wanted to start running every morning. Day 1, full energy. Day 2, sore legs, but okay. Day 3, alarm rings, and his brain says, it's cloudy today. Running in this weather is dangerous. Guess what? He listened. And that's how the old version of him won. That's how most people lose, one excuse at a time. Now think of someone like Michael Jordan. He used to say, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career, and that's why I succeed. He didn't win because he never failed. He won because he didn't let the voice of doubt stop him. That's the real difference. Let's bring it closer to home. You ever notice how you encourage your friends more than you encourage yourself? When your friend says, I can't do this, you say, of course you can. You've got this. But when you fail once, your brain says, see, I told you you're not good enough. Why do we become motivational speakers for others and bullies to ourselves? You versus you means learning to change that voice. When you fall, instead of saying, I'm useless, say, okay, lesson learned, let's adjust. When you fail, don't say, it's over. Say, it's feedback. Even famous people had to reprogram their inner voice. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first TV job because someone told her she wasn't fit for television. If she had listened to that voice, the world would have lost one of its most powerful inspirations. She didn't win against her boss. She won against her own belief that she wasn't enough. Or think of someone like Ed Sheeran. When he started singing, people literally told him he had a bad voice. Today he fills stadiums. Why? Because he told himself, I'll practice until I prove myself wrong. That's you versus you. The battle isn't out there. It's in your thoughts. It's when you wake up and your brain says, you're too tired. It's when you try to learn something new and your brain says, you'll never get it. It's when you dream big and your brain says, people like you don't make it. Let me tell you a secret. That voice never goes away. You just get stronger than it. So the next time your brain says, you can't, smile and whisper back, watch me. Because that's how winners are made, not by fighting the world, but by silencing the war inside. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest. The moment you start improving, the old you doesn't just disappear quietly. No, that version fights back hard. The lazy you, the insecure you, the procrastinating you, they all come together like an old friend group planning a comeback party. You say, I'm done wasting time, and your old self whispers, come on, one last movie night won't hurt. You say, I'm done overthinking, and your old self says, wait, let's just analyze this one more time. You say, I'm starting my new routine tomorrow, and the old you says, you've said that before. Why bother? That's the trap. Your old self misses you. It misses the comfort, the excuses, the laziness, the distractions, and every time you grow, that version feels like it's dying, so it fights to survive. Let's make it real. Ever started eating healthy? The first week you're motivated, right? Smoothies, salads, gym selfies. Then one day your brain says, you've been good all week, one donut won't hurt. Next day, 2 donuts. And by the weekend you're saying, might as well start again Monday. That's not a diet problem. That's a you versus you problem. It's like software. When you install a new version of yourself, the old one keeps popping up saying, an update failed, please restart. Now look at people who made it. Do you think they never felt that pull? Of course they did. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter became a success. Imagine if she had listened to her old self saying, maybe I'm not good enough. Or think of Lionel Messi. He was told as a kid he was too small to play professional football. The old version of him could have said, they're right. But he kept training. And now, those same people buy tickets to watch him play. Closer to home, imagine that student who failed an exam and everyone said, you're not smart enough. But instead of giving up, he studies quietly, day by day. No noise, no show-off. Months later, he passes. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove himself right. That's the true victory, when you become what your old self said you couldn't be. And yes, it's painful. Growth always is, because every time you level up, you have to leave behind an old version of you. And sometimes that version is comfortable, familiar, safe. But tell me, would you rather stay comfortable and regretful or uncomfortable and proud? Here's something funny. People say, I wish life came with a restart button, but it does. It's called tomorrow morning. The problem is, most people use that restart button just to repeat the same day again. You versus you means breaking that cycle. It means saying, I'm not who I was last week. I'm better. It means reminding yourself that the old you had its purpose. It taught you lessons, but it doesn't get to lead your future. Let me tell you this. The world might doubt you, your friends might forget you, and opportunities might pass you. But as long as you don't quit on yourself, no one can stop your comeback. So the next time your old habits whisper, the new you won't last, smile and say, watch me last longer than your excuses. Because you can lose many things in life, but never lose the fight between you versus you. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, life isn't about how many people you beat. It's about how many times you beat yourself. How many times you said, I'm tired, but still kept going. How many times you said, I can't, but still tried one more time. How many times you wanted to quit, but didn't. Because that's where real growth happens, in the quiet battles no one sees. The world claps for your victories, but the real applause should be for those days when you fought alone and still didn't give up. Let me tell you a truth. Nobody likes to say, success doesn't come from motivation. It comes from discipline. Motivation is like Wi-Fi, sometimes strong, sometimes gone. But discipline, that's data. It works anywhere. You versus you is not a one-day fight. It's a lifetime war. The day you stop growing, your old self will try to take the throne again. So never think, I've made it. Always think, I'm still becoming. Look at the greatest people. They keep evolving. When Elon Musk became rich, he didn't stop. He started aiming for Mars. When Virat Kohli became the best batsman, he didn't relax. He changed his diet, his training, his mindset, because he wanted to beat his previous record. Even someone like Emma Watson, after Harry Potter, she could have stayed comfortable. But she kept learning, studying, using her voice for change. They all understood one thing. The only person worth competing with is the person in the mirror. But let's bring it closer to you. You don't have to be rich or famous to live that truth. You just need to win the small battles every day. Wake up when you said you would. Keep your word to yourself. Read that one chapter. Go for that one walk. Save that one extra dollar, because small wins build big momentum. Remember, your future self is watching you. That version of you, stronger, wiser, more confident, is waiting. And the only way to meet them is to keep moving forward, no matter how slow. There will be days you lose. Days when your old habits win. Days when you feel like nothing's changing. But listen carefully. That's still progress. Because every time you fail and get back up, you're teaching your old self a lesson. I don't quit anymore. You versus you is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about choosing to be slightly better today than you were yesterday. So tonight, I want you to make a promise. Not to your parents, not to your boss, not to the world, but to yourself. A promise that says, no more running from my potential. No more listening to my excuses. From today, I'll face myself head on. Because in this life, the day you finally defeat the weakest version of you, that's the day the strongest version of you is born. And when that happens, ladies and gentlemen, you won't just win against the world, you'll win against yourself. And that's the greatest victory of all. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe, my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's funny? People say they want to be successful, but they spend more time charging their phone than charging their brain. Every day I meet people who say, sir, I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. My friend, opportunities don't come to people who wait. They come to people who prepare. And preparation means one thing, skills. Your job can be taken, your money can disappear, but your skills, they travel with you everywhere, even in your worst days. You look at successful people, they all have one thing in common. They built skills before success. Not luck, not contacts, skills. Look at Dwayne Johnson. He started with football, failed, went broke, and then used his skills, discipline, energy, and storytelling to become one of the biggest stars on earth. Or take YouTubers like Mr. Beast. He wasn't born rich. He just spent years learning how to grab attention, tell stories, and make people care. Those are skills that pay forever. So today, let's talk about the 5 skills that will make you unstoppable in life. And the first one, the foundation of everything, is communication. Now listen, communication is not about big words or a British accent. I've met people who speak English better than Siri, but they can't convince a fly to land on their idea, because communication isn't language, it's impact. It's the ability to make people feel what you're saying, to make them stop, think, and say, "You're right." Let me tell you something from experience. The world doesn't reward the best thinkers, it rewards the best communicators. You can be the smartest person in the room, but if you can't explain your ideas clearly, the world will never know your genius. And communication isn't just for business, it's for life. How many fights could be avoided if people just said what they actually feel? One person says, "I'm fine," when they're not. The other says, "Okay," and walks away. Then both end up angry, posting sad quotes on Instagram. That's not love, that's poor communication. When you learn to speak with honesty, everything changes. You stop being misunderstood, you attract better people, and you start to lead without forcing anyone to follow you. The most powerful people in the world are not always the richest. They're the ones who can make others believe. Martin Luther King didn't have social media. He had a voice. And that voice moved a nation. So if you want to change your life, stop worrying about how many followers you have. Focus on the one skill that makes the world follow you. Communication. Now, let's talk about the second skill, emotional control. My friends, this one decides whether you'll build an empire or destroy it with your own hands. Because no matter how smart you are, if you can't control your emotions will control your life. I've seen people ruin beautiful things in 10 seconds of anger. Friendships, careers, relationships, all gone because they couldn't control what came out of their mouth. It's like pressing send on a message you should have deleted, but in life there's no unsend button. You see, emotional control isn't about being cold or emotionless. It's about learning when to react and when to relax. That's what separates leaders from complainers. You know what's funny? Everyone says, follow your heart. But if your heart is angry, lost, or hungry, it'll lead you straight into disaster. That's why you need your mind to drive and your heart to give direction. Let me give you an example. Will Smith, one of the biggest actors in the world, worked for 30 years to build his reputation. But in one emotional moment on stage, he slapped someone on the stage. Everything changed. 1 second of losing control can destroy decades of discipline. We all have moments like that. You come home tired. Someone says one wrong word and boom, you explode like a volcano. Then 5 minutes later, you feel stupid, saying, "I didn't mean that." Of course you didn't. Your emotions did. Let me tell you this. When life gives you problems, it's not testing your strength. It's testing your stability. Anyone can be calm when things are going well, but true control is staying calm when everything is falling apart. I'll tell you what I've learned. The world belongs to people who stay calm when others panic, because panic makes you blind, but patience makes you powerful. Look at Warren Buffett, a man who became a billionaire, not by chasing trends, but by staying calm when everyone else was scared. That's emotional control in business form. And in real life, it's the same. When you stop reacting to every little problem, you start saving your energy for big victories. You stop fighting with people and start focusing on your purpose. You know, in today's world, people wear their emotions like a t-shirt. Angry? Post it. Sad? Post it. Jealous? Post it. They think sharing every emotion makes them real. No, it makes them drained. Sometimes, peace is not in talking. Peace is in not reacting. So the next time life slaps you, don't slap back, smile, breathe, and plan your next move. Because revenge may win the moment, but control wins the war. My friends, remember this. Your success depends not on how fast you move, but on how calm you stay when everything moves against you. Now, my friends, let's talk about the third skill that will make you unstoppable: decision making. This one separates people who wish from people who win. Because most people don't fail in life because of bad decisions. They fail because they never decide at all. You see, indecision is the most expensive habit in the world. It costs you time, energy, and opportunities. And time, once gone, never comes back. People say, "I'm waiting for the right time." Let me tell you, there is no right time. The right time was yesterday. The second best time is right now. I've met so many people with great ideas who said, "I'll start soon." You meet them a year later, They're still starting soon. Their soon has become a lifestyle. Life doesn't wait for people who keep thinking. Life rewards those who make a move and learn along the way. You know what's funny? When you make a decision, people around you will say, "What if you fail?" And when you don't make a decision, life itself whispers, "What if you never try?" That second voice, that's the one that hurts forever. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who wanted to open a small cafe. He kept waiting for the economy to improve, waiting for the perfect location, waiting for the perfect partner. 10 years later, he passed by that same location and someone else had opened the cafe he dreamed of. Same idea, same location, different person. The only difference was decision. You see, successful people are not always the smartest. They're just brave enough to decide fast and fix fast. Jeff Bezos once said, "If I can make a decision with 70% information, I'll make it. If I wait for 100%, I'm too late." That's the mindset you need. Because the longer you think, the louder your fear gets. And fear loves overthinkers. It feeds on delay. Let me ask you, how many times in life have you overthought something simple? Buying something, starting something, saying something. You thought for 3 weeks, and when you finally decided, you realized it wasn't even a big deal. That's how most people waste their lives, dying slowly from too much thinking. There's a quote I love. "The greatest risk in life is not taking one." And it's true, because you can recover from a bad decision, but you can't recover from no decision. Now don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying be careless. I'm saying be courageous. Smart decisions need logic. Great decisions need guts. Every big breakthrough in history came from someone who said, "Let's try." The Wright brothers didn't wait for perfect weather to fly. They risked it. Now the world flies every day. When I started my first venture, I didn't know everything. I knew almost nothing. But I learned that making one brave decision teaches you more than reading 10 books about success. And remember, you can change a decision, but you can't change time. If you keep thinking instead of acting, opportunities will quietly move to someone else who had less fear and more faith. Here's the truth. You will make wrong decisions. Everyone does. But every wrong decision brings experience. And every experience brings wisdom. And that wisdom will one day make you unstoppable. So don't ask, "What if it doesn't work?" Ask, "What if it does?" And if it doesn't, you still win. Because now you know what not to do next time. That's how winners think. They don't chase perfection. They chase progress. So my friends, from today, stop living in maybe. Maybe kills dreams. Decide, act, learn, adjust, and move again. Because the road to success doesn't have traffic. It's empty. Because most people are still parked thinking. Now, my friends, the fourth skill every person must master is adaptability. Let me tell you, in today's world, if you don't adapt, you disappear. Simple as that. You can have degrees, experience, even talent. But if you refuse to change, life will change you anyway. Just not in the way you like. Look around. The world is moving faster than ever before. 10 years ago, if you could type fast, that was a skill. Today, AI can type faster than all of us, and it doesn't even need coffee breaks. See, the problem is, most people want a better life, but they don't want to change their habits. They want new results, but they keep using old methods. That's like trying to stream Netflix on a radio. You'll just sit there wondering, why is nothing working? I remember a friend who said, "I don't like new technology." I said, "Then technology will not like you back." Because the world doesn't care whether you like change or not. It keeps moving. Either you move with it, or you stay behind with your excuses. Let me give you a real example. Do you remember Kodak, the company that made cameras and film? They actually invented the digital camera in 1975. But you know what they said? No one will ever stop using film. They refused to adapt. And guess what? Today, kids don't even know what a Kodak is. They think it's a filter on Instagram. That's what happens when you fall in love with your old ways. Adaptability is not about changing who you are. It's about updating your tools so your dreams can survive the future. You know, people often ask, how do I stay successful for a long time? And I tell them, don't marry your success, marry your growth. Because what made you win yesterday can make you lose tomorrow if you stop learning. There was a time when I used to resist change too. Every time a new platform came, I'd say, this is just a trend. Until one day, that trend became the new world. Change feels uncomfortable because it demands that we let go of who we were. But the truth is, who you were got you here. Who you become will take you further. Even nature teaches us this. The strongest trees bend during the storm. The ones that refuse to bend break, so adaptability is not weakness, it's wisdom. Think about your smartphone. You update your apps all the time. But when was the last time you updated yourself? New mindset, new skills, new ways of thinking, that's your real system update. You can't compete in 2025 with a 2015 mindset. It's like showing up to a Formula One race with a donkey. You'll have passion, sure, but the world will pass you in seconds. Let me give you another example. There was a man who sold CDs in the early 2000s. He made good money. But when music went digital, he said, nah, people will always want CDs. 10 years later, he was out of business. The funny thing, if he had simply learned how to upload songs on Spotify, he could have been earning while sleeping. That's the power of adaptability. It turns endings into new beginnings. So my friends, stop saying, I don't know how. Start saying, I'll learn how. Because in this era, learning fast is a superpower. And don't be afraid of being a beginner again. Every master was once a beginner who refused to stay the same. You see, adaptable people don't get scared when things change. They get curious. They ask, what can I learn from this? Because they know, even if the world changes 100 times, they can still survive. Not because they're the smartest, but because they're the most flexible. So remember this line. In a world that changes every day, the only people who survive are those who can reinvent themselves every day. Don't resist change. Ride it. Because change is not the enemy. It's the invitation to the next version of your life. Now, my friends, let's talk about something schools never teach you, but life will make you pay for not knowing. Financial intelligence. You see, most people work for money their whole life, but the smart ones make money work for them. And that's the difference between being busy all your life and being free one day. It's funny, right? We spend years learning how to find X in math, but no one teaches us how to find extra income in life. The truth is, financial intelligence is not about how much you earn. It's about how much you keep and how wisely you use it. I know people earning thousands who are still broke, and people earning little who are slowly becoming rich. Because one group buys things to look rich, and the other buys things to get rich. Let me give you an example. There was a young man who got his first salary and said, I finally made it. The next day, he bought a new phone, new shoes, and took his friends to dinner. 2 weeks later, bro, can you lend me some money? And that's how most people live. Not paycheck to paycheck, but ego to ego. Financial intelligence is about controlling your money, not letting your money control you. You have to understand something. Money doesn't solve problems. It amplifies them. If you're bad with small money, you'll be worse with big money. Because money is like a mirror. It reflects your habits, not your wishes. When I was younger, I thought being rich meant buying everything I wanted. Now I realize being rich means not needing to buy everything I see. True wealth is freedom, not flexing. Let's make this simple. Financially smart people do 3 things differently. First, they don't just earn, they learn. They study how money moves. They read about business, investing, markets, even small things like how to save, how to budget. Because if you don't know where your money goes, it will always go away. Second, they separate needs from wants. You don't need a new phone every year. You need a financial plan that lets you sleep at night. Rich people buy assets, things that make them money. Poor people buy liabilities, things that take money. You know the difference between a car and an investment? One takes you places. The other takes your money to other places. Third, they think long term. Most people think in days and months. Successful people think in years and decades. They understand. Patience grows money faster than excitement does. Let me tell you a funny thing. Everyone wants to be rich fast. But if fast money was easy, everyone would already have it. That's why you see people chasing crypto today, real estate tomorrow, and next big thing next week. But their bank balance still looks like a flat line. Because wealth isn't built from chasing trends, it's built from consistency, discipline, and control. Even small habits matter. Saving 10% of your income may not sound like much, but do it for 10 years. You'll thank your younger self one day. And please remember this. The goal is not to have lots of money. The goal is to have enough money to live life your way. You don't need millions to be happy. You need financial peace. The feeling that even if you don't work tomorrow, your life won't collapse. And one more truth, don't measure wealth by what people show you. Measure it by what they can survive without showing. Because the loudest luxury often hides the deepest debt. Financial intelligence is not built in banks, it's built in mindsets. The mindset of delayed gratification, the mindset of learning before spending, and the mindset of owning your future, not renting it. So my friends, from today, don't just chase income, chase intelligence. Don't just save money, make it work for you. And don't just look rich, be free. Because the day you stop working for money and money starts working for you, that's the day you've truly made it. Now, my friends, we've talked about communication, emotional intelligence, decision-making, adaptability, and financial intelligence. But all of these skills mean nothing if you don't have the final one, execution. Because ideas are cheap, action is expensive. That's why so few people can afford it. Everyone says, I have a dream. But dreams without action are just comfortable lies you tell yourself at night. The difference between people who want success and people who create it is execution. I once met a young man who said, Sir, I've been planning my business for 3 years. I asked, so when will you start? He said, soon. 3 years later, I met him again. Guess what? He was still planning, now with better excuses. That's what most people do. They polish their plans until life rusts them. You see, the world doesn't pay you for what you intend to do. It pays you for what you actually do. Execution means starting before you're ready. It means taking the first step when your legs are shaking and learning to run while you're already on the road. Look at any great success story. It's not built on perfect conditions. It's built on messy beginnings and stubborn consistency. When Steve Jobs started Apple, he didn't have a fancy office. He had a garage. When Alibaba started, we didn't have investors. We had belief. When J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter, she didn't have support. She had rejection letters. But she kept executing. That's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary stories. Most people lose because they keep waiting for motivation. Motivation is like your phone battery, full in the morning, dead by afternoon. What you need is discipline. That's the charger that keeps you going. Execution is not about doing big things once. It's about doing small things every single day. Because success doesn't come from one big leap. It comes from thousands of small steps you refuse to skip. You want to write a book? Start with 1 page. You want to get fit? Start with 1 push-up. You want to change your life? Start with 1 decision. Today. And please stop saying someday. Someday is the most dangerous day on the calendar because it never comes. Let me tell you something real. When you start taking action, people will laugh. They'll doubt you. They'll tell you you're wasting your time. But remember, people always laugh before they clap. You just keep working until they change their tone. Execution also means finishing what you start. Because most people are not lazy, they're just addicted to starting. They start new things every week, but finish nothing. That's why their life looks like a loading screen that never completes. Consistency beats intelligence every single time. If you do something every day, even badly, you'll be unstoppable in 1 year. So my friends, don't wait for perfect timing, create it. Don't wait for confidence, build it by doing. And don't wait for luck, make it irrelevant through effort. The secret is simple. While most people are talking, you'll be doing. While they're doubting, you'll be proving. And while they're sleeping, you'll be building. Because execution doesn't guarantee success, but without execution, success is impossible. So when this video ends, don't just say nice speech. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do right now? Then do it. That one small action will change everything. Because in the end, success doesn't come to the smartest or the richest or the most talented. It comes to the one who simply executes. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe, my friends.